Pokemon cards have reached all-time market highs, though if you wait too long, you actually may miss out on securing some of those gains. So suppose, what's your move from here? Prices are rising beyond the realms of common sense, and it seems we're at a point where some collectors can actually cash in and make some pretty hefty profits. Though it kind of does bring up the question, what if you wait too long? Is there a chance that you may miss out on making some of these gains? One area you need to remember is these cards can only climb for so long. And with the amount of volume of sets releasing, along with the unreal quality coming in, collectors will need to make decisions on what to purchase. And it does make you wonder if some of these cards will slowly drop in value over the next few months. And there is a chance for that to happen. I'm going to explain why that is in just a moment. However, before I get into that, I just want to say a massive thank you to all who purchased some products on my latest rip and ship. Honestly, they've been so much fun and super entertaining. We've also pulled some crazy fire on the last stream. That Japanese is because you do get the guaranteed hit rates, which definitely make it. Oh, here we go. Here we go. That's a nice. What? Holy. No way! No way! No way! Now, if you'd love to purchase some packs and see them open in front of an audience, I actually am hosting another live break on February 13th, 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Now, the best part is that all viewers do get access to a unique 10% discount code. However, the discount code does have a limited amount of uses, so it is first in, best dressed. The link to purchase some packs for the stream is in the description of this video. However, we are now entering what I like to call a new golden age of Pokemon, which is funny, right? Because when the COVID boom happened and all that, and everyone called that era the second golden age of Pokemon, we all kind of agreed that we wouldn't see this kind of event for many, many years because it was like a once in a lifetime event, right? You know, you had the pandemic, everyone locked in their homes, right? You know the drill, right? Though I have to admit, I'm pretty surprised how quickly we've surpassed the golden age. I mean, we're living in the highest hype period in history right now. So I suppose time will tell what's gonna happen. Now, I do have my own thoughts on where the market will end up, though before I reveal my own thoughts, I think it's important that more context is given about the current market situation. So let's go over that first. So this is the thing, right? You do kind of need to get into the market and learn about the market to make more informed decisions. But right now the prices are crazy. And yes, you can bet your bottom dollar your boy's in the singlet because every video when it's not featured, Phil, where's the singlet? Phil, when am I gonna see it again? It's just, I've created something about it, man. It's just part of me now. I don't think, and you know what's worse? It's 40 degrees in Australia right now. So I'll put the, you know, for the Fahrenheit conversion, but it's hot, man. It is so hot right now. So just let your man be in a singlet. All right, moving on to Gengar. I mean, I'm gonna get into it now, but I just, you know, the thing about wearing these singlets as well, I feel exposed, you know, I just don't feel like, you know, I gotta watch what I eat because if I'm not watching what I eat and I'm just getting, you know, people are gonna start saying things like, hey, Phil, back on the diet, please. So I just gotta make sure it's good. It actually keeps me accountable to my diet and my gym routine. So leave the singlet as it is. But anyway, we're on the Gengar VMAX, right? Now, Gengar is a super loved Pokemon, highly desired, very interesting, but you can see this has reached a new market high and it's exceeding just what a lot of people thought would be possible. I have to admit that this Gengar has actually taken me for surprise in a lot of ways. Check this out, man. I'm gonna pull this into the year graph just so you can get a really good perspective of how this Gengar's traveled. Look at this, man. Last year around this time, selling for $201. Now it did hit a market high in May for $409, and then it dropped down to $301 USD. But you can see, I'm gonna pull this in the next 3 months, and you can see right now that's selling for $732 USD for a raw copy, pretty much approaching double from its previous high last year. This Gengar's had some really strong growth, and it's no surprise, right? Fusion Strike is in demand. You know, that's kind of gone past the realms of common sense as well. But then again, this Gengar is desired. Now, don't forget, it is such a difficult card to pull, and I think people can sometimes forget how difficult these alt art VMAXs are to pull. You know, the pull rates of these were very difficult, and you know, don't forget, Gengar is a very loved Pokemon within the TCG, and within Pokemon in general. It is probably in the top 10 most loved Pokemon. Also, if you have been enjoying the video and you do love to stay up to date with the Pokemon market, please feel free to subscribe. This This channel covers a lot of topics relating to the Pokemon market and general collecting and investing discussion, so it's always awesome to have new people on board. Now moving on to the next one, it is the Bubble Mew. Now the Bubble Mew has just shown some wild price increases, man. I'm gonna pull this into the year graph. You can see last year, this was selling for 89 USD, and a lot of people thought that was expensive for a pre-release card as well, right? But you can see what's happened. Check this out. This has stayed, it was pretty steady for a while, and then it just started climbing. Look at that, in December it hit a high of 270, and even now that doesn't seem like it's slowing down in any way, shape or form, sitting at 420. Now obviously the artwork of this Bubble Mew is amazing, but don't forget, Paldean Fates is getting pretty hard to find and pretty expensive as well. It's not exactly the easiest set. I do think we could actually use a lot more restocks of Paldean Fates, and I think it was underlooked for a long time, but the problem we're dealing with right now is even if Pokemon want to reprint a lot of these sets, they kind of need to catch up on brand new sets like Prismatic Evolutions and Journey Together, and who knows who's even going to be able to get these new sets. So I think Pokemon had their hands full at the moment, right? Because how are they now going to reprint Paldean Fates and make sure a lot of people get Prismatic Evolutions and also make sure people can get Journey Together? It's crazy, man. It's a really tough time in the market right now. So because of that, I think a lot of people are just kind of wondering, is this what we're dealing with now? Like, is this the only stock for Paldean Fates we're ever going to get? You know, it is a question that I think a lot of people are wondering at the moment. Moving on to the next one is the Giratina V. Now, this card is so cool, man. One of the best artworks from the Sword and Shield era, but I'm going to pull that into the year graph just so you can get an overview of how this one's traveled as well. You can see last year selling for 257. Then it climbed to 480 when all that boom happened last year. So if you're around last year, during that period, all the alt arts were going so high from Sword and Shield. People didn't really buy into the Scarlet and Violet era, and the Sword and Shield era was still dominating last year. But you can see right now, it kind of dropped down to 326, and now check this out, man. Sitting at 661. Really expensive, but don't forget that this card as a PSA 10 has some astronomical prices. The reason for that is because it's very, very difficult to grade. The Giratina V is a challenging artwork, and Shinji Kanda artworks have been proven to be quite difficult to grade. The Magikarp illustration rare is very, very hard to get a PSA 10. Same with this Giratina V. And it's going to be interesting if the Roaring Moon also has that same level of difficulty. I mean, we're going to see what happens with it, right? Now, one of the more interesting ones is the Greninja from Twilight Masquerade. Really unique about this. I'm going to pull this into the year graph so you can see how it kind of traveled when it released. So you can see this card kind of came out at around 118, spiked to 291, kind of fell down to 264, and interestingly, it's holding very steady around this 330 range. The Greninja isn't moving like the Bubble Mew. We're not seeing these crazy price increases with it. It's actually staying quite steady in the market. I am interested to see if this Greninja is going to kind of go down a little bit, or if it's going to have that kind of same growth trajectory as some of these other cards. I really like this card. It's actually one of my favorite artworks from the Scarlet and Violet era. So it's going to be really interesting to see where this goes in the market at the moment. Also, if you're looking at staying up to date with the latest Pokemon news and connect with the incredible Pokemon community, you can actually join my channel's Discord server. And what's cool, at the time of recording this video, we do actually have a CGC Pristine Gardevoir Special Art Rare available for a giveaway. You are also first in line to get updated about upcoming rip and ships, live streams, and all the Discord exclusive events. The server invite for the Discord is in the description of this video. Moving on to another one, which isn't actually at a high, but I do think that this card does have the potential to go to new heights. And I do think right now, I wouldn't say it's undervalued in any way, shape or form, but I don't think it's that overvalued either. I think this is right on the money with its value, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see that kind of growth that we're seeing with the Gengar VMAX and we're seeing with the Giratina V in a few years for this Latias card. Check it out, man. Selling for 185 on pre-release, shot up to 264, and right now it's selling for around 252. Very, very close to its previous high. I'd pretty much say it's, it's bang on the money where it was. It's, $10 difference. I do think that this card can rise as the years go on because we have social proof of Latias and Latios from Team Up. That card really has some crazy price values, so I wouldn't count this one out as the years go on. Right now, Surging Sparks, we're going to get a lot more restocks of it. We do know that there's going to be more restocks coming in from Surging Sparks, so it could have that this one is a bit of a long-term play, but interesting things with the market right now. Now, moving on to another one, which is the Drowzee illustration rare. Very cool card, man. I'm going to pull this into the year graph. So this card was selling for $5, and it's so funny because I think it was it was late 2023. I was like buying this Drowzee and I was like trying to find it. When I was looking at this, it had only 30 PSA 10 copies of this card. And I really liked it. I really love this artwork. And I think it's really interesting because this Drowzee, as time's going on, I think people in retrospect are looking at it and saying, wow, this is actually like low-key a highlight of the Scarlet and Violet era, and it released in the base set. So I think it's a really unique card for that reason. We can see this card was selling for $5. Right now selling for $33. I mean, if you loaded up on a few of these, you kind of put your money in a pretty good performing card. That's some really huge growth, right? Now, obviously, a lot of people don't like loading up on these $5 cards, but you know, this Drowzee is a perfect example of something that wasn't appreciated that much during its time, and now people are really flocking to it. So, you know, it's anyone's guess how high this can go, but I do have intuition that this could become one of the more expensive illustration rares as time goes on. Don't forget, Scarlet and Violet base, I mean, very unlikely we're going to get so many restocks or reprints of that. It's kind of feeling like whatever's left in the wild, it's just going to kind of get smaller, smaller, and smaller, whatever's left in the pie with that, right? Now, another one that's interesting is the Eevee from Twilight Masquerade. You can see this card was selling for 50 USD, went up to around 63 in December, and right now it's reached a new high of 103. Pretty expensive, man. Like, it is an illustration rare. It's actually one of the more expensive illustration rares. I did think that this card, when it was selling for 50 USD, was undervalued, and I did speak about that a lot. I thought, you know, with the Magikarp already hitting like 150 USD at that time, I thought this Eevee was very, very undervalued. I do think $103 is quite fair price for an Eevee, right? I mean, we saw what happened with Evolving Skies Evolutions. We all can see what's happening with Prismatic Evolutions. So it's no surprise that this Eevee is that. In fact, I do think that this one does have more room to grow as well, but then again, a market pullback can happen as well. Now, while speaking about evolutions, one that is actually crazy, dude, and it's just, it doesn't seem like it's going to slow down in any way, shape, or form, is Evolving Skies booster boxes. Check this out, man. Last year in February, you could have bought this for $501, which at the time, a lot of people thought was really expensive as well, but you can see that has close to tripled, selling for 1.3K at the moment. Just shy of 1.4K. Evolving Skies is obviously so desired, but to be honest, I would not open this set for any reason at all, because the chance of you pulling anything from this set is ridiculously low. I mean, I opened, it was just, I think it was a year ago, no, maybe 2 years ago now, I opened like 50 packs of Evolving Skies. Dude, I was pulling absolute garbage. I think I pulled like a Rayquaza Ultra Rare. No alt arts, no nothing. I mean, it's a very difficult set to pull. And I do think if you have opened Evolving Skies, you know it is Evolving Cries. I mean, that's why people called it that. It was a very, very hard set to get. Kind of similar to Prismatic Evolutions, but I think Evolving Skies even had way harder pull rates. Now, Pikachu cards have also been interesting, right? Surging Sparks Pikachu has kind of caused a little bit of a shift in the market for a lot of Pikachu cards. You can see this one right here. This is the Lost Origin V Pikachu. You can see this was selling for $19 last year, currently selling for $54. And you can see around that November period, all those Pikachu fans came out, and because of the Surging Sparks Pikachu, all Pikachu cards started climbing. It kind of had this ripple effect on the market. Same thing with the Pikachu VMAX from Lost Origin. Look at this, around that November period, you can see that was selling for 41 USD, right now selling for 64. You can see last year that hit a low of $28. So this VMAX Lost Origin card also had a big amount of growth. Now, interestingly, the Crown Zenith Pikachu still isn't able to kind of pass that $30 to $40 mark. It's still sitting right now at $17. It did pass $21 in December. But then again, I kind of was feeling that this card, because of the caliber of the artwork, I did expect that this card would climb a little bit more. So it is kind of interesting to see that. You know, I do think that this card should be more valued than the Drowzee, to be honest, because I do think this Pikachu artwork is so cool, man. But then again, the market has decided that it's really not worth more than $17 at the moment, which is kind of crazy to me. I do think that that is a very, very good price still for this card at the moment. Now, obviously there's a lot of areas to unpack with the market, though I do think a cool off will happen for some of your smaller illustration rares, as some of these prices can be very difficult to maintain. I think some of your high-end chase cards will stay pretty steady, right? Like, you know, Moonbryon, the Pikachu from Surging Sparks, Greninja and the like, though I do feel some of the other cards will see some steady declines as we approach the US summer. Though I suppose one area to focus on when collecting Pokemon cards is making the right decisions when purchasing products to ensure that your cards can appreciate over time. And I suppose the question that really comes up after all of this is, what are some of the most costly mistakes to avoid? Now, I do answer that within this video here. Within the video that's appearing on screen right now, you'll learn how to avoid the 4 most common costly mistakes when it comes to Pokemon investing and collecting. Click the video that's appearing on screen and we'll talk more about it there.